What is the most important element in this verse? Is ma phaleshu kadachan. That you have the right to perform your action, but you do not have the right to enjoy the results or the rewards. So Kṛṣṇa enlightens and educates Arjuna to perform action which is not imbued with the result. Arjuna was refusing to fight. Why? Because he thought that if he fights, he will be in a state of depression, or he will be placed miserably. So Kṛṣṇa motivated him that you should not perform action based on your liking and disliking. It should be based on duty. So Kṛṣṇa gave the concept of performing dutiable action. So that is without being affected by results. Most of us are motivated by results, so we perform the activity or the action. So Kṛṣṇa gave the conception of buddhi yoga or nispṛhaḥ yoga. It is actually buddhi yoga, because buddhi yoga has two aspects. One of the aspect of buddhi yoga is nispṛhaḥ yoga, is performing action without being influenced or affected by the result. And the second aspect, which is the deeper aspect, is to concentrate one's mind, one's consciousness on the Supreme Lord, Kṛṣṇa. So, fixing one's consciousness and mind on Kṛṣṇa is called dhyana, or meditation. Or when it is perfected, it is called samadhi. So Kṛṣṇa explains this in this chapter, which is called the Dhyana Yoga. Or this is the meditative process for attaining perfection or liberation by fixing the mind. Most difficult aspect is to fix the mind, because the mind is always oscillating. It is always fluctuating. So how to be able to do that? So Kṛṣṇa gives the systematic process. This is what we are discussing in this chapter. So I have just, done a brief recap so that you should know what we are discussing. So Kṛṣṇa is giving the process. And in the 14th verse, we saw Kṛṣṇa says that how one has to follow this process by having regulations in life. Mana sanyamya. In the 14th verse, Kṛṣṇa says, Mana sanyamya. And when the mind is regulated and when it is peaceful, it can concentrate on me. Yukta citto, mata citto yukta, and nispṛhaḥ. So this process Kṛṣṇa is explaining in this chapter. And we saw that how to come to this stage of making the mind becoming completely peaceful. How to be able to withdraw the mind from the agitation. How the mind gets agitated when the mind comes in contact with the sense objects. So how to be able to do that? So Kṛṣṇa gives the process of practice that we discussed last time. Anyone remembers what practice did Kṛṣṇa suggest or recommend? What was the practice? Most of you are having video of. It's difficult. So the mind will still take you some in other directions. So Kṛṣṇa spoke in the two verses that we discussed last time, in verse number 16 and 17, and how to come to this stage of regulating the mind by regulating four things, which is possible for everyone. How it begins, how the process begins. By first thing Kṛṣṇa recommends, Purushottam, what is the first thing Kṛṣṇa recommends to regulate?
No eating.
Yes, yuktaḥ is eating. We discussed that in length. So it should not be that we are, so much fond of food that whatever, whenever and wherever comes, we should be eager or keen or desperate to consume it. No, that is not meant for human life. Animal life, there is no discipline. So the first discipline comes in yuktaḥ. What about the second discipline? Ravindra Prabhu?
Sleeping.
You're not audible. Speak a little louder.
Prabhu is sleeping.
Sleeping. Very good. Sleeping. So the first thing to regulate is eating. And the second thing, if you have regulated your eating, it is possible for you to regulate your sleeping. In today's world, can anyone say his sleep is regulated? Everyone needs an alarm to wake up. Is there any one person who sleeps who does not use alarm? If it does not use alarm, it is impossible to even wake up. So, eating and sleeping. Yuktaḥ viharasya, yukta teshtasa. Then the third thing is what? One has to regulate is this work. Teshtasa means the endeavors, the efforts. It has to be regulated. Not that anyone can do any work anywhere. It has to be done according to the proper guidance. And also the fourth thing Kṛṣṇa says is yukta swapna bodhasya, that is recreation. One has to regulate one's recreation. So now we see around the world, the most booming industry is what? The industry of entertainment and recreation. While newer and newer ways are found to allure and attract the people. So Kṛṣṇa says one who has been able to do that, these four things, he is able to regulate his eating, sleeping, his working, and his recreation. Such a person can be a yogi. And what is the symptom of a yogi? That he is free from all kinds of miseries. Although he is in this world, and in this world there happens to be misery, but those misery will not in fact impact him. Those miseries will not influence him. He will remain free, or he will remain being without disturbance amidst the miseries. So that is what is called achievement. When there are all reasons to be miserable, but the mind is so serene and the mind is so tranquil that those disturbances do not disturb the practitioner. Kṛṣṇa will give the example. Kṛṣṇa will give a very beautiful graphical example. So far Kṛṣṇa has given the practice. What is the practice and how this practice has to be implemented or accepted. That was from verses 6.10 to 17. Various asanas and various postures Kṛṣṇa said, how one should sit, how one should, meditate. So all those processes have been given. So now Kṛṣṇa will speak from the 18th verse onwards. So one who has been able to implement this practice. So such a person is advanced. He is not just a practitioner. He is coming to the stage of perfection. So what is that stage of perfection? So we will see from the verse number 18 today. Everyone has Bhagavad Gita. I need not put it on the screen. I hope everyone has Bhagavad Gita. Those who are hearing online and those who are in the class also. So this is the 18th verse. Yadā viniyataṁ cittam ātmani evāvatiṣṭhate nispṛhaḥ sarva-kāmebhyo ucyate tadā. I will repeat one more time. Yeah. So those who are hearing in the class session, so my request is you try to pick up. Yadā viniyataṁ cittam ātmani evāvatiṣṭhate nispṛhaḥ sarva-kāmebhyo ucyate tadā. Dr. Dolamani, you begin. You recite the verse. Yeah.
yadā viniyataṁ cittam ātmani evāvatiṣṭhate nispṛhaḥ sarva-kāmebhyo yukta iti ucyate tadā.
Yes, good. Anyone? Anyone from your assembly to recite?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, very good. We should have this
Yadā
spirit. Yes, go ahead.
yada viniyataṁ cittam ātmani evāvatiṣṭhate nispṛhaḥ sarva-kāmebhyo yukta iti tadā.
Ucyate tadā. Good. You tried, but hear a little more attentively. Okay? Yes, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yada viniyataṁ cittam ātmani evāvatiṣṭhate nispṛhaḥ sarva-kāmebhyo yukta iti ucyate tadā.
Very good. Very good. Much better. Okay. So what Kṛṣṇa is saying, that when the yogi, by practice of yoga, what is the process of yoga? Which is defined by Kṛṣṇa. That is yoga. What we do on our own is not yoga. It may be some other deviated version, but nothing to do with yoga. So Kṛṣṇa is saying, when the yogi, by practice of yoga, what is the purpose of yoga? The purpose of yoga is it disciplines his mental activities. Very important. Where the discipline has to come? In the mind. The entire focus of this chapter is on the process of making the mind one's friend. Making the mind control. So how to be able to do that? So Kṛṣṇa is giving that process. So if we do not accept that process, so will any other process work? Apart from the process given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it will never work. Like if you have to buy something valuable, so what you have to have? You have to have a bona fide currency. And if you discard that currency and you pick up any other counterfeit and you try to buy, what will happen? You will not get the desired things. So Kṛṣṇa is telling that what is the practice of yoga is to accept the process given by the Supreme Lord. And when one accepts the process given by the Supreme Lord, he disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence. Transcendence means that he is free from the bondage of so many mental anxieties, or from mental disturbances, or even from physical disturbances. Transcendence means that he is beyond modes. Beyond mode means that he is not on the bodily platform, he is on the spiritual platform. It is almost impossible. In a normal course of practice or a normal way of living, one is always on the bodily platform. He has only one conception, that he is this body. So when one follows this process given by the Supreme Lord, so he can go beyond the body and come to the platform of spirit, a spiritual understanding. Devoid of all material desires. Very beautiful. He says, nispṛhaḥ sarva-kāmebhyo. Spṛhaḥ, you understand? Spṛhaḥ means the desire. And how many desires do we have? There is no limit to it. Because some of the desires that we have, it gets fulfilled, it gets multiplied. The newer desires are more. So he is nispṛhaḥ. How to know that the mind is disciplined? So he will gradually come to the stage when the disturbance coming in the mind from the desires. Please understand this very deeply, that the biggest disturbance created to us in our mind, which accounts for our peace, is not from any other source. It is from within. And what is that one factor which is affecting our mental activities or mental state of equilibrium? Is our desires. Now, what kind of desires we have? We have desires, material desires. So he is desired of all material desires. So the mind cannot be free from desires. But what is the focus given is one has to be free from material desires. Material desire means pertaining to body and mind. It is like saying that if a person is having high fever, if a patient is having a high fever, can his fever come to zero? No. If the fever comes to zero, that means what? The person will be dead. It has to be on the normal platform. How much is it? 98.4. So, desires which are disturbing the mind, these are the material desires. Desire for this temporary things. So, what desire should be there? Desire should be of spiritual part. That is transcendental. So, unless and until one comes to the transcendental platform, how can he have transcendental desire? If one is on the material platform, what desire they will have? Will have material desire? Like you are all agricultural students. If you have put the seed of Karela, how can you have grapes in that? Can you have grapes? No possibility. You may do whatever. What you have to do, you have to put the grape seed to get the grape. Because whatever seed is there, accordingly the fruit will be fructified. So Kṛṣṇa is enlightening Arjuna. He is saying that if you accept the process which I have given to you, what will be the result? That your mental activities will be controlled and you will come to transcendence. And then you will be devoid of all desires, material desires. And such a person is said to be established in yoga. So Kṛṣṇa is explaining what is yoga. This is the definition. Actually, if you see, this is the definition, the perfect definition of yoga. What yoga means? Yoga means that one who has disciplined his mental activities. He has become situated in transcendence. He is devoid of material desire. So what is these three aspects should be? And outside we declare that this is the yoga day, where everyone is doing yoga. But that is not yoga according to Bhagavad Gita. That may become some physical drill to keep the body little fit. But that is not the yoga which Kṛṣṇa is giving here, the dhyana yoga, the process of meditative connection with the Supreme Lord. And what is the result of one who is well established in yoga? That he is free from mental disturbance. He is always in state of bliss. He is always ecstatic. He is never ever disturbed. Got the point? At least this information we should get. Realization is far away. Realization will come when we will accept and practice. But Kṛṣṇa is empowering us. Kṛṣṇa is empowering us through the process of Bhagavad Gita by giving us the detailed process of how to come to that stage of transcendence. Never be agitated or disturbed. How to make the mind our best friend. Okay, so we'll go to the purport. We will discuss it even deeper. How it can connect or apply in our own life. Or what are the steps that we can take to at least get some glimpse of it in our own day-to-day life. And not be disturbed by small happening. Today, what is the greatest level of illness or disease? It is more related to mind than it is related to body. Right or wrong? Do a survey. Go to WHO site, World Health Organization, and you see that what is spiraling now is the mental disease. Why? Because there is so much disturbance, there is so much imbalance in the mental thought process. So Kṛṣṇa is giving this process, how to purify the mind. A person who has controlled his mind and senses is actually a yogi. One may refer the name yogi for any other purpose, but actually the true understanding of yogi is one whose mental activities are all controlled. Discipline means what? Controlled. So Prabhupada says in the purport, the activities of the yogi are distinguished from those of the ordinary person. This is very basic. A yogi cannot be a common man. How you will recognize that his activities will be different. He will be distinguished from the ordinary person by his characteristic cessation from all kind of material desires. This is one of the most distinguished features, and of which sex is the chief. Prabhupada is prominently focusing on this aspect. How to know one is a yogi? What is the desire which disturbs the most? Is the desire to enjoy through the means of body. And what is that medium? Is sex. And this impulse is there since the time the person lives. You know that famous story of Birbal and Akbar? Have you heard that? Akbar and Birbal episode? Yes or no? It is worth even repeating and reminding ourselves. So Kṛṣṇa says in Bhagavad Gita in the 3rd chapter, Kṛṣṇa has already declared that the greatest enemy in the human form of mind is what? Is the desire to have sex. And this desire is so deep-rooted that it remains in the consciousness even if the body becomes old and dilapidated. So once King Akbar had many wise ministers, and one of the most wisest of ministers was Birbal. So Akbar asked Birbal that what is the biggest enemy of the human race? And Birbal said that they desire to have sex. So he said, no, it cannot be. So Birbal asked Akbar, how it cannot be? He said that this desire is only there when you are young. When you are young, then you have attraction for opposite gender. But when you become old, this desire is gone. So how it can be your perpetual enemy? It stays for only some time and then it is vanished. So Birbal was very wise. He said, my dear sir, you give me some time and I will prove this to you. So Akbar said, okay, yes, you have to prove this to me. Otherwise, I don't accept what you are giving as a reply or the answer. So after a few days, Birbal hurriedly came to Akbar, and Akbar was there in his royal court. And he said that, my dear sir, you wanted the answer of this question and I am ready to give it to you right now. But you have to come with me. So there is a person who is on the dying bed. So I will prove to you that what is the impact of this desire. So Akbar said, okay, I can come. I will come with you to see and verify the answer. And Birbal said, I have one more request, my dear sir, that you have to bring your princess, your daughter princess with you. Otherwise, this answer cannot be complete. So Akbar said, okay, no problem. I will bring my princess, my daughter also with me. And to make the story short, so all three visited a house where the old man was just about to die. And that old man was so much weak that he could hardly speak or respond. So when it was told to him that Birbal has come to see you, the old man did not respond, as if he is not able to hear. He remained silent and inactive. Then after some time, it was said that the king himself, His Holiness Akbar the Great, has come to see you. But still he did not respond. He did not even open his eye. But when it was declared that the princes have come to see you, within a moment the eyes opened up and he sat up. So Birbal proved that this is the desire which never leaves. Actually, this desire is a punishment. The sex impulse for everyone is not the same. To the extent, Kṛṣṇa explains that to the extent one has remained rebellious, to that extent he is bound by this desire. This is such an invisible shackle. We have done that discussion in the 3rd chapter. If you will study the 3rd chapter, Arjuna inquires the question that atha kena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anikchanapi vaśneya baladeva niyojita. That what is that one thing which has such irresistible force, which pushes us to perform sinful action even though one is not willing to do? Is that right or no? Many times you do not have this desire to perform sin or to perform any unrightful act. But what happens suddenly? What changes? Why we are forced or why we are pushed to perform that? And Kṛṣṇa explains it is kama. It is the desire to enjoy unrestricted. And from where it emerges? It emerges from the mode of passion. So Arjuna is being told here that if you follow this process of yoga, or if you follow the dictations of Kṛṣṇa, what will be the result? That you will become distinguished, you will become a yogi, and a yogi is one who is free from material desire, and the chief of the material desire is the sex desire. The entire human race is centered around this desire. Some are able to acknowledge, those who are advanced are able to acknowledge, but the others are helpless, completely clueless, completely helpless. So Prabhupada is saying a perfect yogi is so well disciplined in the activities of his mind. Now, where is the impact of the sex desire? It is coming from the mind. It's not coming from anywhere else. It is there in the mind, which is inside. It's not visible. So here Prabhupada is saying a perfect yogi is so well disciplined in the activities of the mind that he can no longer be disturbed by any kind of material desires. So that is the progress that one has advanced to come to such an extent his mind has become his friend. This is what it means, that the mind has become the friend. Otherwise, the mind will remain what? Our enemy. If time permits, we will discuss the 5 states or the 5 levels of the mental situation. There are 5 levels of it. But the highest level is the level when the mind is completely disciplined. That means the mind has become our best friend. This perfectional stage can automatically be attained by a person in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. So how this can be attained? When one is connected to the Supreme Lord. What does connection mean? When one performs service. One performs service to the Supreme Lord. How the perfection is achieved? That one connects to the Supreme Lord Kṛṣṇa. How? By performing service. What does service means? To do any act which pleases Kṛṣṇa. Simple. Any act that you perform that pleases Kṛṣṇa is devotional service. So which act will please Kṛṣṇa? Any act that we desire or we like? No. Simply the act which he recommends. If we follow according to what he suggests or recommends, that will surely please him. That is why he is recommending in Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, where is the need? If we want to be Kṛṣṇa conscious or God conscious, how we can be? Simply by following what the Supreme Lord says. And if we do whatever we like, where it will take us? it will take us that the mind will remain our most formidable enemy. This is the greatest tragedy. We are thinking the people in outside world are our enemy. The enemy is inside, which is harming you, disturbing you every moment. By how? Very simply, by just inflicting material desires in your heart, in your mind, and making you a slave of it, keeping you always captive. So Prabhupada is recommending that this perfectional stage can automatically be attained by a person in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. As stated in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Prabhupada quotes the verse from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, there is a personality in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. See what principles are given in Bhagavad Gita, like Kṛṣṇa is giving this principle that he is not disturbed. डॉक्टर साहब क्लास दे रहा हूँ, थोड़ी देर में कॉल करूंगा आपको प्लीज. डॉक्टर साहब एक क्लास दे रहा हूँ. हरे कृष्णा, एक क्लास दे रहा हूँ ऑनलाइन, थोड़ी देर में आपको कॉल करता हूँ. थैंक यू. So there is a personality, a great king called Ambarish Maharaj. And this Ambarish Maharaj, he was a perfect yogi. But there was another so-called yogi, a very powerful mystic yogi called Durvasa Muni. You have heard about Durvasa? And this Durvasa Muni picked up a quarrel with Ambarish Maharaj. And Durvasa had such mystic powers that he wanted to kill Ambarish Maharaj. But Ambarish Maharaj was not disturbed at all. Why he was not disturbed? The reason is mentioned here. That is the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. This section speaks. Very beautiful verse. Savay mana Krishna padaravindayo vachamsi vaikuntha gunanuvarnane karau haro mandir marjanadeshu shrutim chakarya achyut sat pathodare mukunda lingalaye darshane darsha tadbhritya gatra sparshe anga sangama grahanam chatat pad saroj saurabhe Śrīmad tulsaye rasanam tat arpite padav hare kshetre padanusarpane sirohishi kesha padabhivandane Kāmam chadase nadatu kāma-kāmya yathottama shloka janashraya rati. It's a long verse in Sanskrit, but we will try to get the crux of it, which is explained. The person and the process both is explained. Many times we say, okay, the process is given, but show me the person. Where is the person who has been able to follow and perfect this process? So we need examples. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is an elaboration of what the process is given in Bhagavad Gita, of what the principles are given in Bhagavad Gita. So those persons who have followed those processes. So one such personality is Maharaj Ambarish. So King Ambarish, what he did, he was a perfect yogi. Now what is the perfect yogi? Who has completely controlled his mental activities. So how he was able to control his mental activity, those details are given here. That King Ambarish, first of all, engaged his mind. This is the chief. The sole purpose is to bring the mind in discipline. So he engaged his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord Kṛṣṇa. So his mind was always meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. Very difficult. You try to meditate on Kṛṣṇa, not even for a few seconds you can meditate. The mind will fly to some other object of thought. It will not stay there. But Ambarish Maharaj was able to do that. How he was able to do that? This is given here. One after another, he engaged his work in describing the transcendental qualities of the Lord. So he was always reciting Krishna Katha or Hari Katha. Vachamsi Vaikunta Gunanu Varnane. Varnane means to recite. And what he was reciting? Guna. Guna means the qualities. Of whom? Those of the Supreme Lord who is in the spiritual world, Vaikunta. So his mind was always meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. How? Because he was always absorbed in speaking and hearing Harikatha. Like we are all hearing now. One may ask how it is Harikatha. It is pure Harikatha because this is what the Hari is recommending, the form of Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's what we have to do. It is not, otherwise what we will have our own Katha. Our Mana Katha. So how to replace the Katha of the mind? The mind is always jabbering. It is always throwing some thought. It is always throwing some aspirations. It is always throwing some desires. So how to stop that? Is to absorb the mind in hearing Krishna Katha. His hands in mopping the temples of the Lord. So how do we function? How the mind functions is through 5 working senses and 5 knowledge acquiring senses. You know that? What are the 5 knowledge acquiring senses? Like how we are acquiring knowledge is through hearing. So ear. Ear is an organ through which we hear, and the knowledge and the information goes in. How do we see? Through our eyes. How do we smell? Through our nose. So these are the faculties. These are the senses, knowledge acquiring senses. And there are 5 working senses. What are the working senses? Like our hands, we perform action. Our legs, we move. Our speech, we speak. So this way. So what he did, the mind is called the 11th sense. It's called the ekadash indriya. Or mind is also the controller or the master of these 10 senses. So if one has engaged the senses in the service of the Supreme Lord, what will be the result? That the mind will become disciplined. So this is what is the process or the technique which was perfected by Maharaj Amrish. So he used his hands in mopping the temple of the Lord, his ears in hearing the activities of the Lord, his eyes in seeing the transcendental form of the Lord, his body in touching the bodies of the devotees, because they are connected. His sense of smell in smelling the scents of the lotus flower offered to the Lord. His tongue in tasting the tulsi leaf offered to the Lord at the lotus feet of the Lord. His legs in going to places of pilgrimage and the temple of the Lord. His head in offering obeisances unto the Lord. And his desires in executing the mission of the Lord. And this is the key. Others are basically on the physical part, but this is on the mental part. What? How to replace from material desire to transcendental desire is have the same desire of the Lord. Simple. If you have the same desire of the Lord, then you will come to the platform of transcendence, spiritual platform. Not on the material platform. All these transcendental activities are quite befitting a pure devotee. So here Prabhupada explains that what is it? It is nispṛhaḥ, sarva-kāmebhyo, and ucyate sada, and is always engaged. He is always well established in yoga. So this transcendental stage may be inexpressibly subjectively by the followers of the impersonalist path. So those who are not following the bhakti path or the Krishna conscious path, it is very difficult. But on the other hand, it becomes very easy and practical for a person in Krishna consciousness. Like you see, you have Dr. Dolamani in front of you. So how he is trying to lead his life? According to the regulation given in Bhagavad Gita. That does not mean that he will not be practicing his professional life. He is practicing. That does not mean that he will not have his family life. He is having his family life. But what he is doing, along with the professional part, along with the familial part, or along with the social part, he is also focusing on Kṛṣṇa consciousness. What is Kṛṣṇa consciousness? As I said, simple, to perform what Kṛṣṇa says. So what he is doing? He is hearing Kṛṣṇa Katha, Kṛṣṇa's instruction, and he is giving opportunity to others, like all of you, to come and receive the same blessings, the same message. It's very practical. I'll give you one example that you can relate right now in front of you. So Prabhupada is saying that it becomes very easy and practical for a person in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. It is not difficult. It is not obscure. As is apparent in the above description of the engagement of Maharaj Ambrish. So one may question, or one may doubt, where is Maharaj Ambrish? Maharaj Ambrish was in Satyuga. Satyuga is long past. After Satyuga, Treta came and Dwapar came. Now we are in Kali Yuga. The Kali Yuga also, we have so many examples. All those who are practitioners and followers of Kṛṣṇa consciousness, they apply these principles given in Bhagavad Gita. And as Prabhupada is saying, it is very easy and practical, not difficult. So what is the difficulty in accepting, applying, and getting the benefit and the advantage? So an intelligence is required, little intelligence is required to do what is best for us, to do welfare act for our own. Mahaprabhu says, Janma sarthak kari kar purupka. We want to do good to others, but how can we do good to others when we don't know what is good for ourselves? This is one thing, that we should know what is good for ourselves. What is good for ourselves? The ultimate good is given in Bhagavad Gita. One moment. So how to make this become practical? Just very simple. Someone would say that if somebody gets a wound, how to, to be able to recover from the wound. What the doctor does? The doctor comes and prepares an operation. He cuts the wound. The wound, what happens? The wound becomes bigger. But he knows the process, how to repair it, how to recover it. And how the other aspirant becomes a doctor, he just simply follows the person who has passed this stage or who's practically doing it. So how to make it practical in our life? Just simply associate and take guidance from the person who is already in that stage. So it will become automatic. So unless the mind is fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord by constant remembrance, such transcendental engagements are not practical. So Prabhupada is giving this recommendation. So how one has to begin? The Save Mana Krishna Padaravidya. That is the first line of this big verse. Is to bring the Lord lotus feet in our mind. So what it requires? It requires expert guidance. It requires practice. It requires application. Like if you want to become successful in 100-meter race, what do you have to do? You have to wake up early. You have to practice. You have to train yourself. Your body, you have to train in such a way that you can run fast. But still the mind runs much faster. Can the speed of mind be compared to any other object of this world? You may be sitting here, within a flash of a moment, the mind can go to America. How far is America? Thousands of kilometers. Or it can go to any other planet. So there is no limit to the oscillation or fluctuations of the mind. And here Kṛṣṇa is giving that powerful technique, how to be able to control and curb the mind. Such a powerful process Kṛṣṇa is defining here. In the devotional service of the Lord, therefore, these prescribed activities are called archan, or engaging all senses in the service of the Lord. So how it begins? By engaging in service. What service means? That you do something which is not for the benefit of yourself, but it is for the benefit of Supreme Lord. How you can do that? You can come and just offer small rose to Kṛṣṇa. You have the altar in front of you. You see the altar in front of you there, Shri? What we can do? We can bring one small offer, an offering, bring one small flower. Or what is that? You come and now it is mentioned, you come and just simply bow down. So you have done service. When you will come, the 9th chapter, Kṛṣṇa says, Man mana bhav madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Namaskuru means just offering obeisances. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati. You can offer a leaf. What leaf? Tulsi leaf. This is what it is explained here. What Amrish Maharaj was doing, he was smelling the aroma of the tulsi leaf which is offered to the Lord. He was smelling the fragrance of the flower which is offered to the Lord. Service is also done and the sense is also purified and the mind becomes disciplined. See how deeper the impact is and how the process works. Like someone asks you how to nourish the tree, simply put the water in the root. If you put the water in the root, what is the result? The entire tree is nourished. It becomes revorated. It becomes healthier. So here that technique is given here in this section. Prabhupada is explaining. It's a very powerful verse Prabhupada has mentioned here. The senses and the mind requires engagement. This is another very distinguished feature of the mind. The mind is never empty. Have you seen the mind empty? That it is still. It has no thoughts. It has no aspiration. It has no desire. Not possible. Anyone knows how many thoughts come in a minute for an average person? How many thoughts flow in the mind in 1 minute? Have any idea? Anyone? In just 1 minute, how many thoughts flow? The thousands. Yes, Purushottam?
60,000.
60,000. I had heard 27,000. Maybe it has advanced. I don't know. But it had thousands. Many, many thousands of desires. And what it does, it agitates the mind. Constantly it is hitting the mind. And what it does, the desires, they do not allow us to experience peace and inner calmness. Always agitate. Simply abnegation is not practical. So Prabhupada gives another side of the process of the practice, that abnegation, you understand? Abnegation means to deny. Just to deny. Okay, the desire is coming, I will not act. I will leave it. You won't be able to do that because the desire has so much of force. It has so much of velocity that it will push you. It will force you. That is what Arjuna asked. That how one is able, why one performs sinful activity when he is not willing. It is the flow of these desires which force him. The Prabhupada is saying simply abnegation is not practical. Therefore, for people in general, especially those who are not in the renounced order of life. So most of you, are you in renounced order of life? Any one of you? No. I may be called in to some extent in renounced order of life. But all of you are not in renounced order of life. You are in normal order of life. You are living in families, you are living in home, or for the time being, you are living in hostel. But still you will be considered as living in home. So for those who are not in the renounced order of life, transcendental engagement of the senses and mind as described above is the perfect process. This is the only process to bring the mind become disciplined, How? By engaging the mind and the senses in the service of the Supreme. This is for transcendental achievement, which is called yukta in the Bhagavad Gita. Kṛṣṇa says, yukta yoga ucyate tadā. Yukta means he is well situated. So when you say, people ask us, how are you? In our known circles, we say, very well, thank you. And what does it mean to be well? Kṛṣṇa is defining what is wellness. Wellness means that when the mind is disciplined, when the mind is free from all material desires, then one can be said that he is well situated. He is well situated. Okay. Should I go to the next verse, or if there is any question, any doubt, any clarification required, please ask. I'll try to take at least one more verse. So Kṛṣṇa will give us a example how to know what is the mental state. So Bhagavad Gita is very practical. It is not just the information or the theory. And Prabhupada adds on to the purport to make it so personal by giving the personal examples. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Go ahead.
Prabhuji, as you told that the ultimate process is to engage our mind and senses in the service of the Lord. The senses, we understood, Prabhuji, that simply offering flower to the Lord, many of the process you told. But engaging the mind in the service of the Lord, little bit, if you elaborate more, how to engage the mind.
It is there in the first line. Na? Save mana Krishna pada ravindeyo. First thing is to meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord. What it means to meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord is to follow his instructions. To bring that as the foremost and the primemost activity in our life. Save mana Krishna pada ravindeyo. Follow into the footsteps of what the Supreme Lord is asking us to do. That is what Prabhupada is saying. You see, in Purport, Prabhupada has where are the desires coming in? The desires are coming from the mind. So his desire in executing the mission of it. See, it is written there. When after the verse, the para is completing. So how is executing that? In his mind, he has the desires to execute the mission of the Lord. Is it in the senses or is it in the mind? Where is the mission? I did not hear. Unmute and speak. But the problem with us is we forget. Unmute and speak.
It is in the mind, Prabhuji. In the mind.
So what we have to do? We have to make the mission of the Lord prominent in our mind. That means we have to give more value to it. The problem with us is we are giving our own proposals of the mind much more value and focus. We are wanting the Lord to execute our mission. We don't want to execute the mission of the Lord. This is our problem. Why do people come to temple most of the time? That to get all their desires and demands fulfilled. Where is the Lord? Why the Lord is there in the temple? To fulfill my desires and demands. When they are very thinking that they are more smarter, they will tell the Lord that I will give you some 100 rupees if you allow me to get a bounty of millions of rupees. The Lord is so foolish. But this is what the practice in the Prabhupada. Why? Because they're completely in ignorance. Completely in ignorance. So how to keep the Lord's lotus feet in the mind? is to keep the mission of the Lord in mind. Okay, I'm not speculating anywhere. It is purely from the purport. It should be clear. If we have anything which is outside the mission of the mind, that means what? We are meditating on our sense gratification. Yes or no?
Yes,
So it requires practice. It requires application, and gradually it will happen. Keep practicing the process, and to be able to practice, you have to pray to get the empowerment. It will not come automatically. To the extent we become really sincere and serious, Kṛṣṇa will start to reciprocate. He is reciprocating, but the problem with us is we are lost. Our mind is lost in our own plans, in our own mission. We have our own mission. Hum honge kāmebhyaḥ, hum honge kāmebhyaḥ, ek din. Which din? So many lives have been lost, but we are not able to see. Okay. Anyone else? Very important. See, Kṛṣṇa is giving the process, very clearly defining the process, how to regulate and control the mind. There is no other process which will work. That is why all the other process, the result is big zero. You can go and attend anyone's workshop, anyone's seminar, the power of mind control. This is the power. Where the power will come? Who can empower? Those who do not have any power, what can they give empowerment? So Kṛṣṇa is empowering here. To Arjuna, all of us. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa gives a very beautiful example and analogy. How to know that the person is disciplined in his mental activity? So Kṛṣṇa gives a graphic example. Yatha dipo nivataṣṭho nengate somapasmita yogino yata cittasya yunjato yogam ātmana yatha dipo nivasastha nengate somapasmita. So Kṛṣṇa is giving the example of a lamp. Deepa means the lamp. So as the lamp, where in a windless place, do not waver. This is a very common thing you would have seen. You ignite a lamp and you switch on the fan. What will happen? As soon as you ignite the lamp and you switch on the fan, what will happen? What is the experience? What do you have experienced? Can you have the lamp burning? No. Why? Because the air will bring down the lamp. So what you have to do? You have to switch off the fan. So Kṛṣṇa is saying, as a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. So like the lamp which is there in a windless place, it burns very steadily. It does not waver. So similarly, the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled. This is what Kṛṣṇa explained in the last verse. That ātmany evāvatiṣṭhate. That he is well situated. He is well situated. How he is situated? Like a lamp in a windless place. He is always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. A truly Kṛṣṇa conscious person, always absorbed in transcendence, in constant, undisturbed meditation on his worshipable Lord, is as steady as a lamp in a windless place. So I seek your participation now. How does this analogy connect to what we discussed in the last verse? Kṛṣṇa said that he is well established in yoga. And now Kṛṣṇa is giving the example of what it means to be well established, like a lamp in a windless place. That means what? What is the lamp considered compared to the mind? And what is the wind compared to? May I ask, what is the wind compared to? Answer is a simple question. Yeah, please go ahead. Unmute and speak.
Various distractions.
Sorry, a little louder.
Various distractions.
Very good. Perfect answer. The wind is the distraction. That means what? There are no distractions in the mind. That means what? The mind is fixed. And where is the mind fixed? How there is no distraction? This is the next question. Others can attempt. You have already given the right answer. Yeah, give the phone to him.
So mind is fixed to supreme
Speak a
goal.
little louder so we can all hear.
So mind is fixed to supreme Lord.
Missions of the Lord. We cannot
Missions
be
of
fixed. Mission of
mission.
the mission of. If the mind is fixed on the mission of the Lord, then it is like it is. There cannot be any distraction. Distraction is only there when we do not have the right mission in life. You remember when we were studying the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam? What is the recommendation given by Narad Muni to Vyasadeva? That anything you describe which is separate in vision, what will be the result? It will distract. It will only distract the mind. So how to stop the distraction of the mind? Make the mission of the Lord the mission of our mind. And always thinking how to implement that mission. Simple terms. How to know what is the mission of the Lord? Here Kṛṣṇa is giving the mission. His mission here in Bhagavad Gita. Very clear, very explicit. Nothing to speculate. Okay. It is a couple of minutes to 9. Yeah. So I invite from your side some contributions, some participation, or some clarification, or question, or doubt, or any challenge. So please speak. Please express yourself. Kṛṣṇa gave very powerful tool. How to control the mind. How to make the mental activities disciplined. How to come to transcendence. How to be free from material desires. All in one shot. Yeah, go ahead. Unmute.
Hello, Prabhuji, I have a question.
Yeah.
That all we know that Sri Krishna is watching us, all we are doing for his pleasure, and we should not do anything against his will. But still, we people like 90 to 80%, 80 to 90% time, we do most of the things against his will. So, what are the root cause that still after knowing we are doing this kind of things? And what should be our little step to overcome this problem?
Very good. Thank you for asking a very, very relevant question. What's your name?
Anamika Burman.
Okay, Anamika. See, this question is a very important question. This question is already asked by Arjuna. If we have any genuine question, it is already there in Bhagavad Gita. In fact, whatever problems we are facing in life, it is perfectly answered in Bhagavad Gita. So first you said that we want to do we want to execute the will of Kṛṣṇa. So first we have to know what is the will of Kṛṣṇa. Na? If we do not know what Kṛṣṇa wants from us, what we will do? We will do anything which we want and we will say this is what Kṛṣṇa wants. If you read any book from anywhere, is that book in your curriculum or syllabus? Anamika? Yes or no? It is not. So you have to study what is there in your curriculum or in your syllabus. So similarly, to know what is the will and the mission of the Lord, we have to study. That is why we are studying Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, what is the purpose of studying Bhagavad Gita? Why we are studying Bhagavad Gita? Why we are discussing Bhagavad Gita? Because we want to know what is the will of Kṛṣṇa. If you will read the introduction, Prabhupada says that very clearly, that what we are doing, we are presenting the will of Kṛṣṇa. And Kṛṣṇa wants everyone to know his will and follow it. And why we are not able to do this is the $1 million question. That even though if we have some desire is there. Of course, there is some desire. That is why you are here hearing. Otherwise, why would you be coming? Others have no desire, so they don't come and hear. Even if they are invited, they don't come. So the reason for that is because of our uncontrolled desires. Our desires are controlling us. This is what this discussion is. We are controlled by our desires. And where the desires are, the desires affect our mind. And how we are working? According to the dictation of our mind. So who is controlling us? Now you tell me. We are controlled by our mind and the mind is controlled by our desires. So what we have to change? We have to change the direction of our desires. Our desires should become in line with the desires of the Supreme Lord. Then there is no problem. So how to be able to do that? So first thing is to hear the desire of Kṛṣṇa, which is there in Bhagavad Gita. You can take a tiny step, try to come every Saturday or hear every Saturday at least. At least we covered 2 verses today, isn't it? If you hear for 1 month, you will cover at least 8 to 10 verses. If you hear for 12 months, how many verses you will cover? You will cover more than 100 verses. Isn't it? So in 1 year, you will know. Today we know the desire of Kṛṣṇa. What is the desire of Kṛṣṇa? Please tell me. What is the desire of Kṛṣṇa? From these 2 verses that we discussed, what is the desire of Kṛṣṇa?
To control our minds.
He wants us to become a yogi. Simple.
Yogi. Yes, yes.
And who is a yogi? One who has his mental activities controlled. And the question is how to be able to do that? Kṛṣṇa is defining here. First thing is your eating. Please regulate your eating. Please regulate your sleeping. Simple things, nothing complex. This is what we have been doing in our childhood, what we were doing. We were sleeping in time and waking up in time. But what we do? We just do the reverse. Why? Because we have got little more independence. Now we are so-called free. And how we are utilizing the freedom? To harm ourselves. And we are saying we are liberated. So simple step is first to hear. Hear what Kṛṣṇa wants from us. Like you came today, we are very thankful you came and you spend your time in hearing what Kṛṣṇa is, wanting from all of us. Through Arjuna, he is giving the message to everyone. So we can, by coming and associate with devotees, you can come to know what is the mission of Kṛṣṇa and gradually practice it. Make it a part of your life. Make it a mission of your life. And then you see, there is no question of any failure. There is no question of any defeat. There is no question of any depression or anxiety. Yatra Yogeshwara Kṛṣṇa, Yatra Partha Dhanurdhara, Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir, Dhvar Nitir Matir Bhava. Be on the side of Kṛṣṇa. Why you want to be on the side of those who are opposing Kṛṣṇa? What is the result of those who are opposing Kṛṣṇa? 100% failure. You try whatever. Why should we not be on the winning side? Okay. Does it satisfy you? Does it inspire you?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Help her, Dolamani, to respond.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Speak a little louder.
Yes, Prabhuji, I got it.
So may I ask, what will be your tiny step? You said, how can we make tiny step? So how you can, take one step forward today?
Like by offering water to Kṛṣṇa, or like flowers in every morning, or mala japa.
Okay. Very good. And hearing, most important is hearing the message of Bhagavad Gita. To know what is the mission of Kṛṣṇa. Okay. Thank you all very much for your attention and your interest in Bhagavad Gita. My sincere prayers that may the blessings and the mercy of Supreme Lord shower in your life and enlighten you for a very blissful life. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.